There's way too many small-minded, pea-brained, weak little ass people in this world that just move about life being a slave to society and being a slave to culture and what other people say they should be doing and what other people and industry and society and government says they should be doing and how they should be living their life, how they should be taking care of themselves and the people around them. People are so quick to just take everything that's fed to them as verbatim and not question it and be a sheep in the flock. I'm not here to be a sheep in the flock. I'm here to be a motherfucking wolf. I'm here to hunt the flock. I'm here to lead the flock. And if you're tired of being in the flock and you're tired of doing what everyone else does, just because, if you're tired of being weak, if you're tired of being small-minded, pea-brained, little baby victim mentality person, you came to the right place. This is the cheat code on how to stop being weak. If you need to reclaim your power, if you're tired of submitting to society and culture and just like other people's expectations, this is the cheat code. And it's a little counterintuitive because this isn't easy. The cheat code makes it seem like there's, you can cut corners and it's gonna help you cheat. This is the way to do it. There's no cutting corners. It's hard, it's difficult, but it's the only way to be strong and to not be weak. And it is this, to do hard things. If you want to be strong and you want to build strength, you have to do hard things. You have to do things that challenge you and push you and take you outside of your comfort zone and things that make you feel uncomfortable. Because that uncomfortability, that period in which you don't feel super comfortable is where the growth happens, is where the strength builds. Like if you think about the gym, you're not going to build any strength if you never lift weights or do calisthenics, hold your own body weight, do resistance training. You're never going to build muscle if you don't sweat a little, if you don't feel the burn a little, if you don't sit in that uncomfortable period long enough to challenge yourself and challenge your muscles and build that muscle and build that strength, right? And so if you think about that analogy then in real life, there's no way that you're going to build emotional, spiritual, psychological resilience and strength if you don't do anything that challenges your current existing structure of emotions and physiology and psychology. You have to do things that challenge your current structure and way of being to move forward, okay? So if you're trying to not be weak and you're trying to be a strong person, that's what you have to do. You have to do hard, challenging things that will build that strength. And so here are the few things that you can do to build that emotional, physical, psychological strength and resilience to overcome the challenges of this life, be unfuckwittable, be the boss ass bitch you know that you are at your core, and to stop letting these weak people, small-minded little babies, get you down from the path in the life that you know you're meant to live. The main things that are going to strengthen your mind, body, spirit, soul, I think, is elimination. You got to eliminate the things that are not serving you, the habits, the people, the places, the foods, the drinks, the mindsets, the ways of thinking. You gotta cut it all out. You have to snip, eliminate it from your aura and your way of being because that shit holds you back. That shit becomes you. And the only way to overcome it and to move past it is to literally physically move past it. Cut it out of your life. The people that are rude and weird and don't have a good value system, treat you like shit, gaslight you, make you feel like you don't know what the fuck's going on, you've got to cut them out of your life. And the same thing goes for toxic eating habits, toxic drinking habits, toxic thinking patterns. Your habits make up you. So if you're constantly engaging in weak things that make you weak, things that are easy, things that are comfortable, things that are within your comfort zone, you're never going to change. You're never going to grow. You're never going to build the strength that you need to overcome these things that you don't want to be consumed by and dictated by, ruled by, whatever way you want to put it. If you struggle with over drinking or over smoking or overindulging in any type of substance, continuing to engage in that is just a cop-out. Continuing to engage in that habit is just reiterating this belief, this narrative to yourself that this isn't working for you, this isn't serving you, yet you're too weak to step outside of it, yet you're too weak to try something else. And maybe you do build up the strength to try something else momentarily. But if you don't stick with it, if you don't push through and have that discipline and have that consistency, it's never going to change. You're never going to build the strength to sustain that change and sustain that habit. And the same can be said for indulging in like processed foods and treats and fast food, Uber Eats, skip the dishes, or just overindulging in food in general, like large portion sizes, lots of desserts, lots of snacks, and just like more than you need. Continuing to engage in that habit is just reiterating that narrative of, I'm not strong enough to overcome this. I'm not strong enough to overcome this. And the only way to stop that narrative, the only way to challenge yourself and do something different is to step outside that comfort zone, to do something else. Like nothing changes if nothing changes. So you got to change something if you want something to change, if you want to see different results, if you want to build strength and you want to stop being controlled and succumbed by whatever these habits or addictions are that aren't serving you. And it's hard, it's challenging, it takes strength to even make the realization that something isn't serving you. That's the first step and maybe the easiest part, sometimes the hardest part, depending on what it is. But then the real next step is like actually deciding, I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to let this control me. I'm not going to let this be the end all be all of my narrative. I'm going to do something different. If this person's being rude to me, if this person constantly makes me feel like shit, but they're my only friend, they're the only person that makes me feel, seen, heard, noticed, loved, whatever conception you have in your brain, but they're not serving you, they're not supporting you, you got to take a step back. You got to create some space. You got to do something different. You got to experiment a little. Be willing to take risks and be willing to make changes to see how it could maybe play out a different way, to see what the other storyline, to see what the other narrative could be. If you want to build muscle mass and you want to tone up, you have to get outside of your comfort zone and exercise. Go and lift weights. Go and do chin-ups. Try and play around on the monkey bars at the park. Try and do handstands. Do some sit-ups. Do some ab curls. Whatever it is. Some Pilates, some running, some jump roping. Like there's so many opportunities. If you have an idea in your mind of like, this is someone that I want to be, this is something that I want to do, but I just don't have the like internal fortitude to do it yet, start somewhere, because that's the only way you're going to build the internal fortitude. And it's really fucking hard to do it at the beginning when it's new and it's so uncomfortable and it's so weird and so different and you need so much discipline to get yourself there. But that's just the beginning. Starting is the hardest part. And then, of course, it's a challenge to stay consistent, but the more you stay consistent, the more you commit to doing the hard thing and challenging yourself, trying the difficult thing, the easier it becomes to try harder things and to do difficult things. The easier it becomes to stay consistent with that one difficult thing. And then that thing that started out really hard and really difficult slowly becomes less and less difficult. If you start with 3-pound weights at the gym and you stay consistent with it for weeks, you can move to a 5-pound. It's not going to be that heavy. And then you stay consistent. Months later, you're going to be lifting way heavier weights, 20-pound weights, 25-pound weights, whatever. I don't really do free weights, so I don't know how fast you would be transitioning through this period. But after months of staying consistent with that, then you go and lift 3-pound weights, it's going to be easy. It's going to feel like nothing. Whereas at the beginning, it maybe felt really hard. It maybe felt really difficult. And that goes with everything, with filtering people out of your life. It's going to be really hard to cut off that one first toxic person because you have this like attachment to them. But the first like first relationship that you sever, that's toxic for you and not good for you, that's really hard. That requires a lot of strength. And if you've done that, clap for yourself, pat yourself on the back, because that's really difficult. And not a lot of people have the strength to do that. And I think that's a big part of the reason why a lot of these people are weak and stay in this cycle of like, poor me, life is so hard, life is so difficult. No, you're just weak and you don't have the strength to live in a different narrative, to live in a different storyline and tell yourself a different plot line. You're weak and you don't want to change badly enough, because if you did want to change badly enough, you would sit through the uncomfortableness. You would sit through those growing pains and those uncomfortable changes, and you would feel them through. You would see them out. You would stay committed because you know that the version of you that's at the end of that journey is far better, far stronger, far wiser and happier than the person that's sitting here today. And so I think that is one thing that you have to kind of like grasp onto when you're trying to build strength and you're trying to challenge yourself with these new different things. You got to grasp onto the hope, the knowingness that it's all going to be worth it at the end, that the person that you're going to become through this journey, because of this struggle, because of this hardship, is just far greater than the person that you are now, and far more rewarding and fulfilling and enjoyable than not changing, than sitting and being comfortable. Because like, babe, what's the alternative? You sit and you continue to live this narrative in this life that you know isn't right for you, or you try something different and you do something that's hard and challenging and uncomfortable and icky and different. And maybe, just maybe, something changes in that journey. Maybe you get to spend more time with yourself, loving yourself, caring for yourself, appreciating yourself. Maybe you have more energy because you finally stopped drinking. Or maybe your sleep's better because you finally stopped smoking so much. Or you actually have consistent bowel movements and you don't feel bloated and sick and heavy and full all the time because you pushed back the plate and you stopped eating a little bit before bed. Or you stopped overindulging in snacks and treats. Or you substituted the processed foods for whole foods. There's so many amazing changes that you can make to your life to level it up and just like amplify it and make it so much better. But the only way to do those changes and stay consistent with those changes is to make them and to see them through and sit them out, because nobody else is going to do it for you except for you. It's tough and it's tough love, but I genuinely feel like you can't soft life your way through this entire journey, because this journey is not soft. It's not easy. It's hard. It's challenging. It's draining and heavy sometimes. But also, that's what makes it so rewarding, because if you didn't have to put in any work to get the things that you wanted to get, if you didn't have to try at all, nothing would be worthwhile. Nothing would be fulfilling, rewarding, and there would just be no point to anything. And doing these hard things, I think, is what builds confidence and what builds self-esteem, because you do one hard thing, you go to the gym that one time, it's really hard. Second time you go, it's going to be a little bit easier. Same thing with running. Third time you go, going to be a little bit easier. Fourth time you go, might be hard, might be a little bit harder than the last time. But that's okay. That's where the consistency comes in. Every single time, it's not going to be a constant upward trajectory. That's the challenging part. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be days where you aren't motivated. There's going to be days where you fall short of your goals and you indulge and you fall back on your goals and your mindset, mentality, whatever it is that you're trying to change. You engage with that really toxic person. You don't set that boundary. You let that person say that rude thing and walk all over you. You don't stand up for yourself. Whatever it is, hey, shit happens. It's all right. We move on. The sun sets and rises, and there's another day, and you get to try all over again. And there's a fresh start every single day. And the only person that's going to be able to capitalize off of that fresh start and make something of it is you. It's you. That's the only person that can make these changes and make these decisions for you and sit through these uncomfortable periods and have that discipline to consistently keep showing up for yourself and keep prioritizing you and what you want and what your heart's desires are. You're the only one that can do it. Nobody else. And that's scary and that's overwhelming, but it's also liberating because all the power is in your hands. Do what you wish with it. Go to the gym, go for a walk, get those 10K steps, eat that salad, eat that spinach, cut off that toxic friend. Message that person that you really think is cute and fun and upbeat and you want to spend more time with. Take those risks and make those choices out of a place of desire and love and not from a place of fear and habit and compulsion and comfortability. Because when you make decisions out of a place of comfortability and what's known and what's familiar to you, your whole life is going to be predictable. You're going to be living the same narrative. You're going to be able to see your life 10 years out, 20 years out. It's going to be entirely the same and probably not in a good way because I think as humans, as a species, we're meant to evolve. We're meant to change. We're meant to grow. And the only way to do that is to challenge yourself and do hard things and build strength and be strong. And it's hard because most people aren't strong. Most people are weak, and most weak people are going to try and drag you down, pull you down to their level so that they can feel more comfortable. They can feel more okay with the fact that they're not the person that they want to be. They're not living the life that they want to be living, and they're too weak to do anything about it. Because in reality, the stronger you get, the more you reflect other people's insecurities onto themselves, the more you trigger the people around you, and the more you show others, hey, you don't have to be hating your life and you don't have to be hating yourself. You can do something different, you know? And you can actually like yourself. You can actually love yourself and love your life. Oh my God, you don't have to be a victim and a slave to the conditions and reality around you. You can create something else. You can write a new narrative, write a new script and live by it. And people that aren't willing and ready to build that strength and do those hard things and be the strong person, they don't want to hear it. They will villainize you and they will do and say anything and everything that they can to try and pull you down, try and make you feel bad about what you're doing, try and poke holes in your theory to make themselves feel better about where they are and what they're doing, you know? And like when you open your mind to this, you pick up on it in so many different facets of life. When someone looks amazing in like tight, sexy little one-piece romper, there will be people picking holes in that. Oh, I could never wear that to school. Oh, that's crazy. Oh my God, she's such a slut. She's such a whore for wearing that. Oh my God, I could never. Oh my God, you're running, you're lifting weights, you're doing a marathon. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Oh my God, do you not have a life? Do you not want to do anything? Oh my God, you want to stay home. You don't want to drink. You're such a loser. You have no social life. People will do and say anything to try and justify their weakness. And we also do it to ourselves. Like I do this in my own head all the time. All the time. Of like, oh, I'll just make this excuse and that excuse and like justify it and make it okay so that I don't have to feel guilty and shameful about this unhealthy decision that I'm making. You can only do that for so long, and you can only hide from the people that are like real in this world and the strong people that, reflect those problems back onto you. You can only hide from them for so long. You can only live in lies for so long. And you can build yourself a whole community and a whole life that supports and reflects these weaknesses and insecurities and issues back onto you to make it seem like it's okay, it's normal, it's comfortable. And sure, it might be normal, but it's not right. It's not comfortable. When you hate yourself and you hate your life and you don't feel love, appreciation, gratitude for this existence, that's not a good life. That's not comfortable. At least for me, it may be comfortable to some. I think they're lying to themselves. Genuinely, honestly, truly. Because the feeling of being strong and the feeling in the long term that you challenged yourself, you pushed yourself, you took every single opportunity that came to you and you made the most of it, that feeling, oh, that's confidence and self-esteem that money can't buy. That's confidence that rich people wish they could buy. Because the only way you're gonna get there, the only way you're gonna build that is through doing the hard shit. And people will look at you after you've done the hard shit, after you build that strength. And I'm talking like physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. That's something that you can't buy. That's not something that you can get quickly and you can order off of Amazon. That's something that builds over time with consistent effort and discipline and resilience and fortitude. And that's something when you're talking to someone, when you see someone walk into a room and everyone's heads turn and the entire vibes are uplifted, the second they open their mouth and say something, it's like, everyone's all ears. That's just such an invaluable quality that I think we need so many more people in this world to have. But I think the only way to get there is to do the hard stuff by stopping the toxic habits, cutting off the toxic people, rewiring the toxic neurological pathways and narratives that you have ingrained into your way of being and thinking. That's the only way, is to start and just try and keep trying and consistently keep trying. And there's going to be days and moments where you have setbacks and it's harder than others and you might not feel as accomplished and you might not feel like you're doing as much work. But then when you stay consistent and you stick with it, you're going to look back and be like, what the fuck was I thinking about? I was having an off day. There's ebbs and there's flows. But when you stay consistent, there's more flows than there are ebbs. And you can easily look back on those moments that were really difficult, that were really hard, where you felt like you weren't doing enough and be like, what was he thinking about? I'm doing great. And I'm so proud of myself. And I think that is the other key to this cheat code. Like, one, you have to do the hard shit. But two, you have to recognize that you're doing hard shit. Because nobody else is going to give you that recognition. If anything, everyone else is going to try to invalidate that strength that you're building. There are some people that might be real enough to be like, to give you praise and be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Oh my God, that's so awesome. Good for you. But most times there might be a little bit of animosity, might be a little bit of envy sprinkled into that. Oh my God, good job. Oh my God, so good for you. Like, what is it? That scene from Mean Girls when she's like, oh my God, that's the cutest effing skirt I've ever seen. I love it. Where did you get it from? And then she turns around and she's like, that's the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen. So many people are like that because people are fucked and people are weak. And when you're intuitive and you know yourself and you know your worth and you're working on yourself and your worth, it becomes easier to pick up on that stuff. And so when you keep working on your worth and yourself, you can't rely on other people. You can't rely on external praise to get you to where you want to go, because there is never, ever, ever, ever going to be enough external praise to keep you motivated and keep you passionate and driven and hopeful enough to do the hard work and sustain the uncomfortable periods and do what you need to do to get to where you want to go. You have to be willing to give that to yourself. You have to be willing to look at everything that you've done, all the hard work that you put in, all the discipline, all the consistency, all the times where you don't want to work out and you work out, all the times where you want to binge and you want to overeat and you don't, and you push the plate back and you say, I'm not going to. Or you want to go to bed, but you know you need to journal. You know you need to meditate. All the times that you choose those other healthy habits over the unhealthy ones, you have to give yourself recognition. You have to. And appreciate it and praise it. And it's not cocky. It's not selfish. It's not full of yourself. It's just genuine self-love and genuine self-care, doing those things and saying those things and showing yourself love and appreciation. It's like the way that a parent would care for their child with trying out a new sport, doing their best, getting a good grade on a test. A good parent would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. You did so well. I'm so proud of you. You worked so hard. Look at it. It's paying off so well. You tried so hard. Blah, 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 blah. You want to, and you have to do that to yourself. Every single time you do something that is one step, one habit, one inkling towards the person that you want to be in the life that you want to live, you got to praise yourself, clap for yourself, give yourself a gold star. and show yourself that love and appreciation for the person that you're becoming and the strength that you're building and the uncomfortability that you withstand. Because that's the only thing that's going to keep you willing to stay disciplined and stay motivated. Because if you don't recognize your wins and you don't recognize how far you've come, it will very quickly, very soon become a very unfulfilling, unrewarding, invalidating experience of just like consistently setting these high goals for yourself and challenging yourself and pushing yourself and never, ever, ever recognizing all the work that you're doing, because guaranteed you'll burn out and you won't be able to stay consistent with your goals and your changes long enough to see them through and see the changes that you want to manifest. Because discipline only goes so far without recognizing the strength and fortitude that is required to have discipline and to be disciplined. And so I think the best way to be disciplined and build this strength and fortitude in your everyday is to work it into your everyday with little steps, little routines, little habits that, some days might not feel little. They might feel really big. And other days, the more you do it, the more consistent you stay with it, the more it just feels like another little thing, another little task, like washing the dishes, folding your laundry. Sometimes there's days where that's a really big feat. And other days, it's more enjoyable. And so for me, the habits, routines, regimens, that keep me balanced and aligned with my highest self and in a place where I'm building strength and becoming stronger involve cooking whole food, plant-based meals. For me, that's something that like regulates my nervous system, makes me feel at peace, makes me feel as though I'm caring for myself. And it's also something that makes me feel strong. It makes my body feel strong, like physically. And it gives me energy to do other things that will make me feel strong, like exercising and working out. And so that's another thing has been worked into my daily routine. Going on long bike rides. I do like 30-kilometer road cycling rides, multiple times a week. I go on 5-kilometer runs every now and then. And if it's a hard thing to motivate yourself to do, I find races a really good way to like set that goal for myself in time to then force myself to like motivate and build that strength to get out there and stay consistent with something, because I've paid for a race, I've booked it, I've found people that I'm gonna run it with, and I then have those like external reinforcements of like, hey, are you training? Hey, gotta get ready for this race. And like I know at the back of my mind that if I'm running with them, I can't just like show up not trained, not having done any like long distance runs or anything like that. Like it's just not going to be good. And so I'll book races for myself, half marathon. I'm also doing a triathlon this summer to motivate myself to get out there and stay consistent with these habits that I know are going to build the strength and make me a stronger person and give me that fortitude to continue being this person that I really want to be and living this life that I really want to live. And then in terms of building like spiritual and emotional strength, I really love journaling. I really love meditating and doing tarot cards and oracle cards and having moments of gratitude. And I really love like books that have dates and kind of force you to stay on track with working these into your daily routine. And so I have like my stack of all my spiritual, emotional, habit ritual books right here in the center of my apartment. So at the beginning of my day, at the end of my day, it's right there in my plain field of view. And it just makes it way easier to do that hard thing and stay consistent with it because it's already out, I see it there. I just have to make the decision to sit down and take the time to do it. And so I have like some plant oracle cards here. I also use regular tarot cards. I have my affirmation pages gratitude book, which I've talked about in other videos, where it has dates and it has things that you have to write down, and it's like a whole practice, and it takes, maybe 5-10 minutes, but it motivates me to do it every single day because there's dates on it, and it's obviously better when you do it more consistently. Another one that I really love is this One Line a Day 5-year memory book. And it literally just has like tiny little blurbs. I want to say like 5 lines for each day. And it's has 5 lines for each day of the year for the next 5 years. And so this is something that I want to have as a keepsake for just like myself, to reread in the future, and also share with like friends and kids and grandkids, to just like reflect back on my life and be like, oh my God, this is what I was doing on April 12th in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. And it gives you like a snapshot of every single day of the year for like a 5-year period. But the only way that I can have this keepsake is if I stay consistent with journaling 5 lines about my day every single day. And so this has been a great motivator. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely days where I go to writing it and I'm like, fuck, I forgot to do yesterday. But I just go back and I look on my phone, I look at my photos, I look at my text messages, I look at my Instagram stories. Okay, what did I do? Let's reflect. What can I write about? And keeping it on my coffee table is just a really great way to work these things into my regimen. And then the other thing too is like habit stacking. If anyone has read Atomic Habits, this is like a big thing that the book talks about. Habit stacking is key. And so with all of these, I try to habit stack. I try and do like my gratitude with my meditation. I have my meditation mat literally just like arm's distance away. And I do my meditation right in this area where I have my books within arm's reach. And then, when I go to bed at night, I try and do my meditation, and I try to do tarot card readings, oracle cards, and then I also have my 5-year memory journal book, and I move on to that. And it's just a matter of like making the one choice to do something different, doing it, and then having a consistent effort, putting a consistent effort forward to stay consistent with that thing and do that thing and work it into your everyday routine. And there's going to be some days where you fall short. There's going to be some weeks, some months where you fall short and you slack and you fall off a little bit. But that's okay. That happens. That's all part of the journey. But the biggest part is coming back to the habit, is returning to what it is that you want to do, staying disciplined, staying consistent with it, doing it as much as you can, as frequently as you can. And then when you get good at it and it becomes a part of your routine, building on it and strengthening that habit, like starting with journaling. Then you can habit stack that with meditation, and start slow. If meditation's really something that's like daunting and scary and uncomfortable to you, start with 5 minutes. Every single time I fall off the meditation horse and I gotta get back on, I start with 5 minutes, and then it becomes easier. I ease my way into 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then next thing you know, I'm meditating for like 20 minutes at the beginning of the day and end of the day, every single day again. And all of a sudden I'm making all of this time for these spiritual practices that make me feel aligned and balanced and at peace and regulated. So it really just starts with making the one choice to do something different and continuing to come back to it, continuing to make the choice to put yourself first and do what you need to do to build and become the person that you want to become. And then just continuing to bring yourself back to that as frequently, as often as you possibly can, and not being too hard on yourself in the process, understanding that like just the fact that you're willing to change and wanting to change and making an effort to change, you're doing far better than most people out there. Most people don't want to change. Most people aren't trying to change. And so recognize that just trying, just having the desire and putting some type of effort forward is good and deserves praise. And trust in the process that the change isn't going to happen overnight. You're not going to like miraculously wake up and be this new person that's really happy and really healthy and really toned and really fit and super strong. It takes time. And in some sense, that's great and that's beautiful because it allows for a lot of like error and time for rest and reflection and filtering, purifying, sometimes regression. And yet, in another sense, it's really hard because every single day you have to be doing this hard thing and challenging yourself and putting yourself in this position that you maybe don't really want to be in, and doing this thing that you maybe aren't really enjoying at the moment and you don't really want to do, and you're like hating the whole process of it. But again, it's the whole process of becoming, and I think you have to learn to love that process, to embrace the ebbs and the flows, and understand that if you feel like you're not doing enough now, or you feel like you're regressing or you're stagnant, just trust that if you're staying consistent, that's going to change. There's going to be, days, weeks, months where you feel entirely different, and you feel really proud and you feel really happy and you're really enjoying the process, and you look forward to going out for that run or having that meditation session, and it's all part of the process. And in some sense it sucks, but in another sense it's beautiful and it's great and it's amazing, and it allows for so many other things to happen and exist at the same time. Because building strength isn't something that you just have and become and are. It's something that you have to consistently work towards and build to maintain and continue to remind yourself that you have, and you're capable of maintaining and exercising. It's like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes, the more evident and prominent it becomes, the more you feel it, the more you see it, and the easier it becomes to use on a consistent day-to-day basis. So that's basically really all I have for this video for today. To give you a brief little recap, if you want to start building strength and being strong and stop being weak, you have to do hard things. You have to challenge yourself. You have to get out of your comfort zone and sustain uncomfortable periods. And you have to consistently choose yourself and choose to come back to these uncomfortable, challenging experiences. And when they become comfortable, as your strength builds, you have to continue to then push yourself and challenge yourself outside of that new comfort zone. Because the more adept you get at being disciplined and challenging yourself and building strength, I think the more your desire grows to keep building and keep growing and keep changing, and understand that it's not going to be an overnight thing. There's going to be setbacks, but that's all part of the challenge. That's all part of building that strength, is overcoming the setbacks and overcoming the doubts and the fears and the imposter syndrome. And I think the only way to really overcome those hurdles is, of course, to stay consistent, but also show yourself love and gratitude and compassion for the fact that you're doing a hard thing. You're doing something really hard, and you're really strong. You're stronger than you think you are, and you have what it takes to do this thing that you want to do. You have what it takes. It's all more a mental game than it is physical, emotional, spiritual. It's all mental. And you just got to keep being your own biggest cheerleader, cheering yourself on, soft parenting yourself, being kind to yourself, and continuing to show up for yourself. And that's really all it takes. You got this. I love you. I appreciate you. Kisses. Bye.